Well, calls for President Biden to take a mental competency test are growing louder after a report by the special counsel shows the 81-year-old can't remember facts about his own life and career.
Democrats are saying this feels like a drive-by shooting. I mean, it was supposed to be a report into whether or not he'd done anything wrong by keeping classified documents. The special counsel said you couldn't put Joe Biden on the stand in court because jurors would just view him as a sort of sympathetic, doddery old man with a poor memory. I mean, if he's not fit to stand in front of a jury, how on earth can he be leader of the free world?
Joe Biden, we are told, is simultaneously too addled to prosecute, but also entirely compos mentis enough to run the country.
And that's why this report has been so spectacularly embarrassing, excruciatingly so for Joe Biden.
So Obama, by this point in his presidency, had done 422 interviews. Trump, by this point in his presidency, had done 300 interviews. Biden, at this point in his presidency, has done 83 interviews. Orders of magnitude less than these other two most.
If I was his handlers, I'd be afraid to put him in front of a camera as well, because he can't get through basic, easy interviews.
Like, first thing is he should not run again. I'm talking about Democrats who are like pretty much, you know, in the camp. Do you think he's doing a good job? Doing great. He's doing great. We don't want any more of that.
I keep wondering why Democrats, and some Democrats keep wondering if Joe Biden is too old to run.
The Democrats say shut up about it. Yeah. They're the ones who keep bringing this up.
Biden is actually in good shape.
Right. Mentally, he's quite acute.
Any aide who engages with him or reporters, we can see this. The gears of his mind are working.
The right-wing media has so fixated on Biden and Biden purportedly having cognitive issues.
It's not just making an issue of Biden's age. It's lying. It's saying he's senile. It's saying he's demented.
It's the same guy. He was always a gaffe machine. He's actually more disciplined than he used to be.
That's an issue pushed by right-wing media, but it's not correct.
Yeah, Republicans on the other side have spent 4 years almost kind of weaponizing Biden's age against him. Trump is not that much younger than him.
Biden is just a couple of years older than Donald Trump.
Why so much attention on Biden's age? Trump isn't much younger.
This whole vein is really, really unseemly. I mean, ageism.
I'm going to say quite bluntly, there is some ageism going on here.
Yeah, I think there is some ageism going on.
This is a man who is sharp, who is on top of his game, who knows what's going on in the Middle East and around the world.
Biden's personal physician wrote that he, quote, remains a healthy, vigorous 80-year-old male.
He is a healthy, vigorous 80-year-old male.
He had a good physical. His doctor says he's vigorous.
The reality is nothing like the dystopian picture that the Republicans are trying to paint of this senile, doddering president.
For all of you who think that he might be too old to run, think again. You heard the special counsel with that line that the president is a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
86% think Biden is just too old for another term. Obvious question, is this the end of his campaign for a second term?
When you have continual gaffes like he has had, when you have now Robert Hur's report come out and underscore the mental failings and mental acuity issues that he has, it's a real problem.
Yesterday, it was officially put on the record as being an elderly man with poor memory. That's not exactly who you want to have in charge of the U.S. military right now.
Just hours after the release of Special Counsel Robert Hur's report on President Biden's handling of classified documents, Congressman Jamie Raskin said in a statement, quote, "There is plainly no comparison here to the conduct of former President Trump."
The report makes it clear that President Biden intentionally took classified material and he willfully disclosed it to his own ghostwriter. That's clear. That's exactly what Donald Trump has been charged with.
Are you worried that Putin could be attempting, and the Kremlin could be attempting to intervene in our election in 2024? And should we all be spending more time talking about that?
I am very concerned about it. It wouldn't be the first time that Russia's intervened in our election.
No.
It wouldn't be the first time they've done it to try to help elect Donald Trump.
You little pencil neck.
The Mueller report that came out has completely cleared the president when it comes to collusion with the Russians in the 2016 election.
The Russian government interfered in the 2016 presidential election in sweeping and systematic fashion.
This administration has been tougher on Russia than any of its predecessor administrations. I could go through the list, but there's not time in the show to talk about all the things we've done.
And I take your point, because in terms of specific policies, the U.S. government...
So, Chris, I don't get your point.
Well,
I'm confused.
Well,
I'm confused.
Let me make it.
You're looking at the administration that has been tougher on Russia than any of its predecessors, and yet you continue to be fixated on something that Robert Mueller wrote down.
It wouldn't be the first time that Russia's intervened in our election. It wouldn't be the first time they've done it to try to help elect Donald Trump.
He took a fifth of Ukraine under President Obama. He didn't take an inch of Ukraine during my 4 years as Secretary of State, and within months of our departure, he went back into Europe. I can't prove it wouldn't have happened if we were still there, but here's my best evidence. It didn't happen.
What was your overall reaction to that report?
As a former federal prosecutor, my reaction was Robert Hur couldn't make a legal case against Joe Biden.
This report is filled with damning indictments against Joe Biden.
Couldn't make a legal case against Joe Biden. So he decided to make a political case against Joe Biden.
Multiple violations of the Espionage Act, one after another, a black and white case.
So he decided to make a political case against Joe Biden. What he knew would damage Joe Biden politically and gratify Donald Trump.
If only Donald Trump had such a prosecutor.
What he did was quite deliberate and destructive and also just plain false.
Right there in the beginning, our investigation uncovered evidence that President Biden willfully retained and disclosed classified materials. He lied about this the other night. He said he didn't because he's a liar. He's a serial liar. Apart from the mental problems, he's got character problems.
It's never been a good bet to bet against American people. And I'm betting they're going to come around. China's number one.
Disclosed classified materials after his vice presidency when he was a private citizen. That is a crime.
He couldn't make a legal case, and so he's doing what he can to damage Joe Biden.
These materials included 1, marked classified documents about military and foreign policy in Afghanistan. 2, notebooks containing Mr. Biden's handwritten entries about issues of national security and foreign policy implicating sensitive intelligence sources and methods. That is a crime.
To extrapolate from that and make a political attack, that's just hackery by Mr. Hur.
FBI agents recovered these materials from the garage, offices, and basement, and the den of Mr. Biden's Wilmington, Delaware home. That is a crime.
Do you wish Attorney General Merrick Garland would have done something differently here? Could he have?
Merrick Garland has really bent over backwards to do the right thing, to, withdraw the department from the terrible reputation it had under Trump of being politicized.
Bullshit. It was your FBI that was sending, and we have the memos, we have the emails, we're sending undercover agents into Catholic churches.
That is a crime.
Was anyone fired for drafting and circulating the anti-Catholic memo?
I don't know the answer to that.
Withdraw the department from the terrible reputation it had under Trump of being politicized.
In my judgment, the Department of Justice has been politicized to the greatest extent I've ever seen in this country.
Ideally, you appoint a prosecutor that will improve public confidence in the report. You don't expect them to be a hack. And in this case, he misjudged Mr. Hur.
He moved out of the Virginia home in 2019, consolidating his belongings in Delaware, where FBI agents later found marked classified documents about the Afghanistan troop surge in his garage. Mr. Smith, what do you think about this? I'm talking to you, Jackie. What do you think about this?
Joe Biden is a failed president, and the Democratic Party knows the only way to stop Donald Trump from being elected president this fall is to try to convict him and imprison him. That's what you would expect to see in a place like Pakistan or Brazil, not in the United States of America.
We had a several hundred-page report making all of these, fantastic editorializing claims about the president's memory, and it just has nothing to do with his job.
We've also considered that at trial, Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury, as he did during our interview of him, as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. Gee, we've never sent such men to prison, have we? Prison's filled with people like this. Based on our direct interactions with and observations of him, he's someone for whom many jurors will want to identify reasonable doubt. Who writes a report like this?
Donald Trump is again going to be the candidate of the Republican Party. Joe Biden is the one Democrat who has beaten him, who can beat him, and who will beat him.
That's just hackery.
I am your voice.
The American people overwhelmingly support what I'm doing. The polling numbers are overwhelming. Democrat, Republican, and Independent.
Poll this morning has Biden's approval rating at 33%. That's historically low for him, low for an incumbent president.
What I have to do is just keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward.
That's just hackery.
I think your poll is a bit of an outlier. How can all these polls with low approval ratings, including the lowest one yet, all be outliers?
Don't think that Putin and Xi and the Ayatollahs and the North Koreans and everybody else are not watching this farce and thinking, how far can they play their hands while Joe Biden is still in office?
We've got a bunch of Republicans, MAGA Republicans, espousing things that are not good for the American public. Joe Biden has proven that he's the one standing up for working families.